everyone. Welcome to another episode of the SurgeCast. We're excited to be back with you. I'm Kat.
I'm Zach.
Yeah, and our special guest.
Oh, hi. I'm Mike, the unofficial executive producer of the SurgeCast. I found out this weekend. And joining us later will be Anderson Cooper and perhaps Shane Willis. So,
ooh, yeah. There you go.
So many surprises this week.
Figure out which one it might be.
How are you doing, Mike?
I'm good. Thank you very much. And considering with what's going on with the Carolina Hurricanes, I will knock wood, and hopefully I will stay that way until we get to the Four Nations tournament and go from there. But no, I'm very well. Thanks for asking, Kat. Always good to join you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're really excited. I mean, we're like kind of midpoint, so we're like, we got to have you back on, get your take on how the season's been going, your thoughts, predictions, all of those fun things. So we're really glad you could join us. We're also glad, again, that you're not under the weather like the rest of the team and that it stays that way so you can enjoy a little break during the Four Nations.
Yeah, hopefully. And, of course, get to enjoy Winnipeg at full strength.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You really need to enjoy that freezing cold.
Yeah. Yeah. Explore the space, which I have done several times in Winnipeg. So
yeah, because Winnipeg is a must-see destination for anyone who wants to go on vacation. You know,
in particular in the middle of winter.
Well, just have Jarvis show you around.
Yeah, exactly. We've actually had that happen once before. So it's a good story. There's two main streets in Winnipeg. It's Portage and Main, and the Canes had a practice at this huge practice facility, which, goes to figure Canada and Winnipeg. And I think the facility had like 7 rinks. And it was a place where Seth grew up playing. And, it was one of his first years. I don't think it was his rookie season. It might have been, though. And the team is busing to the rink for a practice. And somebody asked Seth, well, what's there to do in this town? And he goes, oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff. You'll see it as we go to the rink. And we get to the rink, and Seth goes, maybe there's not as much stuff as I remember. So it was a good story. But
I feel like he makes his own fun. Yeah. I feel like he probably made his whatever fun to do up there he could make. So
oh my gosh.
If you know, and I think everybody has gotten to know Seth Jarvis very well, you understand it was his sense of humor. There was stuff to do. It's just one of those funny things about it. So we'll get to it. And by the way, happy belated birthday to Seth Jarvis, who is now 23 years old. And at the time of this recording, a day, I believe. So good stuff. So
yeah, it's wild. It's like you think he's already been in the league for like he's in his 4th season. And it's like, oh yeah, he's only 23. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah,
already over 100 points. Making the Team Canada for the Four Nations and like on pace for another 30-goal season. It's like, talk about just like finding like the right guy at the right time to put on a roster that already has really good players like Svechnikov and Aho and Jacob Slavin and all of them. Like, just what a get for the Hurricanes just to pick him 13th overall in the weird remote 2020 draft.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about the draft especially is pieces have to fall into place for you. But this is where I give such high marks to Darren York and the Canes amateur scouts for watching these players and identifying what they're looking for, what they need, what they want. And it's not just the skill set of a player. It's everything. It's how are they going to fit in with the team and their personalities and what kind of people they're going to be. And they targeted that with Seth Jarvis. So that's the same thing with Jackson Blake. When you're finding guys like that in the second round, that's and later, that's just a huge thing. But no, Seth Jarvis, think about it. 30 goals last year. He's now back-to-back 20-plus goals. I see no reason, it's going to be tight, but I see no reason for him not to pot another 10 goals and get to 30 goals again this year for the Canes. So, no, he's just perfect. And then the locker room presence that he brings
so great.
When, he'll be the first one to tell you about his behavior and how he should act and, how he gets under the guy's skin, but in a good way. You need that in a locker room. You need to have players like that. So he is a huge part of this team moving forward. I'm so glad they got a long-term deal done with him this past offseason because we always talk about his personality and how funny he is, but make no mistake, he wants to be the absolute best player he can possibly be. That's why I'm excited for him to go to the Four Nations, to sit in that Canada locker room with the group that's going to be there. He's going to come back in a good way. He's going to come back a different player, not a different person, but a different player. Although it might be funny. I'm hoping to get one story about Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid saying something to Seth Jarvis, like, you really shouldn't be saying that right now.
Or I'm going to get his interaction with Brind'Amour, Shannon, because that's going to be wild with those.
Marchie evidently is excited to play with him. So, and
hey, that's a lot of high marks for sure.
I think I really want to see, because of all the players, McDavid's so dialed in. I really want to see how he reacts to Jarvis. But I do love how Jarvis was saying, put me anywhere, I'll play defense. And I was like, coming from the Rod Brind'Amour style of play, that's not terrible. He plays a lot of defense every night when he plays with us. So but and I was full-heartedly agree when you were talking about Jarvis. The first next player that came to mind, I was like seeing Jackson Blake in his first year with the Canes. Just, it gives me such Jarvis vibes in the way that he's just unafraid. Like he drives the net, he does what he needs to do. And a lot of people might be like, okay, he could be a little intimidated, maybe playing on a line with first line with Aho and Rantanen, especially with all the big things about the trade with Rantanen. But honestly, he's just been playing his hockey. Like, he doesn't seem to really be like trying to force anything, trying to do too much. He's really just doing what he's been doing before, and it's just been like, honestly, improving the play of the whole line, and some of his passes and some of his, honestly, just hockey IQ for how young he is has been fantastic to watch with the two Finns.
Yeah, and look, we'll go back to when Seth Jarvis made the team. He gave the organization no reason to send him back to junior. In this case with Jackson Blake, he gave the organization no reason to send him to Chicago. Like, they made the team. And that's the one thing that I think everybody gets as far as the guys in that locker room. Nothing's handed to them. Everything is earned playing for Rod Brind'Amour and this coaching staff. I watch Jackson Blake now on a nightly basis, and he's starting to do things where I'm like, the points are all of a sudden going to start coming in buckets for him. His handles last night against the LA Kings to set up plays. It's an unfortunate thing on the hand pass that would have been a goal for Sebastian Aho.
If he had just touched it just a little bit.
Just to get control, but he's going to learn. He will learn from that to knock it down and get the blade of the stick on it to push it to Rantanen to set up this play. Like, he's one of these guys who, I won't even call it a mistake. He learns something game to game, and then he puts the practical application to it in the next. And he is fearless. He goes right to the net. He makes all the plays that you want him to make. I talked to Shane Willis about it last night. Why is he the complement to these two right now, to Sebastian Aho and Mikko Rantanen? And he just talked about it's his offensive ability. And it's his fearlessness to go to the net. And, oh, by the way, he has the skill that goes with it. So, I'm not saying he's going to all of a sudden make a charge and be the rookie of the year. I think that that's going to go to Macklin Celebrini, and deservedly so, in San Jose. But he's got 11 goals right now. I can see him finishing with over 20 in his rookie year, especially being on that line and the opportunity that's going to be there for him. So he makes the most of it. And that's one of the things, if you want to ask me about, like, to this date, what stood out to me, Jackson Blake has stood out to me. This was a guy, and I'd say raise your hand, and none of you should, because you'd be lying if you thought that Jackson Blake was going to make the team on a training camp. I didn't think that. And
our unpaid intern does want to say he was about Jackson Blake the whole time. He's actually not lying. I will vouch for him that he has been a Jackson Blake fan for like as long as possible. So he might be the only one that had that full confidence. I doubted him at times even, and he was like, no, he's going to be on the team.
Having been an unpaid intern for what feels like the majority of my life, they claim a lot of stuff after that. So
you're not wrong.
Unpaid, by the way.
But because you talk about Blake, this guy was a Hobie Baker finalist with 60 points with North Dakota. Like, that's nothing to sniff at. So it's one of those things where you can see the skill set, and if you look at how his play is, you could tell kind of right away that it's like, okay, this guy probably has right now the best makeup of fitting this system. And obviously he's proven it. And you've heard it from Rod all season. I need to get this guy more minutes. And this is when he was playing like fourth line for the good part of the season, then like moving to second, now he's on the first. And of course, people are like, why is he on the first? They should move Jarvy back up. And it's like, but with Rod, I think the thing that works so well is the fact that Rod makes a way to balance his lines out. Because, you could put Jarvis in that first line, but then you're kind of almost overstacking. You kind of want to make sure you got a scorer on every line and guys that kind of complement that thing. So I think that's I think has been also kind of missed is like, you do have chemistry with Jarvis and Aho, but also too, Jarvis with the Jordans is always like a sneaky move that always happens every year. So it's like Rod knows what he's doing when he's balancing these lines out and putting Blake on the first and Jarvis on the third.
Can I quote you on that one?
Huh?
Can I quote you on that one? Rod knows what he's doing.
Yeah, sure, you can do that. Go for it.
I'm going to.
I can't wait. I can't wait because
Coach of the Year. Hello, what are we doing here?
I can't wait because what we're seeing from Jackson Blake in this first year, and just think about it from going forward. If he just like gets on a little bit more muscle, like if he just gets bigger. I mean, we saw against the Kings, we saw Jarvis put a couple guys down just full force. Like Jarvis did that. He hit the gym after his first year, and then now he's come back and he's hitting just like the Jordans are. And so just imagine that what you already have with Blake, like he's doing so much for the size he is, and then to continue to grow from that. I think it's going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I'm really excited to see him grow. And just, again, he's surrounded by such veteran talent now too, that he can just, he's got Aho and he's got the power forward of Rantanen at the time. So I'm really excited. I'm sure he from being like, oh, you got the call, you're going to be on the team, to like, now look who you're playing with. Look how that it has to be a very memorable season for him.
Absolutely. It's his rookie year. And two things to that. One, Kat, he's going to get stronger because he's in that locker room. You have no choice. Like you have to put in the work.
You have to be able to bench Rod eventually. That's the goal.
I don't know if there's anybody in the league who can do that. But he will get bigger. He will get stronger. That's an exciting thing when you think about this, because we're also talking about guys who are 22, 23 years old. They're getting into, especially learning how to be a pro. That's not just playing the game. It's how you take care of yourself now in the off season and putting in that work. And you've heard it, and everybody has glommed onto it as a Canes fan. Go see Billy after the game. That's a part of building yourself into a better player. The other side of it, though, Zach, and I'm not going to go on a rant on it, but for people who obsess over the lines, like I don't, just please stop. This is a PSA from all of the hockey broadcasters out there. Just stop, because if something's not working, the coaches will move it around. And the funniest thing for me is when coaches don't move lines around, all people do is complain that they're not moving them around. And then when they do move lines around, why are you doing that? That line was working. Well, what do you have to have a happy medium. So look, just know going into a game that just because Seth Jarvis is playing with Jordan Staal and Jordan Martinook, my two dads, by the way, and I will keep pounding this one. I believe Greg Evigan is going to be Jordan Martinook, and Paul Reiser is Jordan Staal.
They need a shirt. They need a shirt for it.
we can
So
work
good.
on this one. But
so good.
Just because they're playing on a line in a game to start doesn't mean that's how it's going to finish, and it doesn't mean that's how they're going to play in the next game. So I get it. Everybody has this idea of, these are starters and this is what you got. It's really, and it has been for a long time, it's more duos than trios now in the NHL, and you can move players up and down the lineup. We saw it last night where Eric Robinson got moved up to the line.
He was buzzing.
And Taylor.
And I did call that, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what coaching staffs do. So again, I'm not going off on a rant. I understand that people see this. I'm just asking, don't freak out over it. I've just never understood you're smarter than the people who are behind the bench. You've got these line combinations better than these guys. Well, here's the thing. If it's not working, they know what to go to. All the years that, and he was just here, Sebastian Aho and Teuvo Teravainen played together when they wouldn't be together for a line or a game or two. You know what Rod Brind'Amour always knew what he could do in a game? He could always put Teuvo Teravainen. Yeah, exactly. So that's it. Thank you very much. This is my TED Talk. I hope you all appreciate it. So,
well, and the funny thing is, you mentioned Eric Robinson. I want to get your thoughts on him because I feel like he's almost like him and one other guy I'm going to mention real quick too after this question. It's how like of an underrated signing was Eric Robinson for the Hurricanes, or the fact that you add his speed and what he's done, and the fact that he's already matched his career best of goals, and he still has like he did it in 19 fewer games, and I feel like he's just fit the system so perfectly. Like, what about Eric Robinson? I mean, not gonna ask if it's like a surprise or anything. Like, well, what about his game has really stood out to you? We're like, okay, this could be a guy that we could see in a Hurricanes jersey longer than this season.
I think the speed and how fast he is, how he plays. That's something where when you don't get to watch a player on a nightly basis, you don't always notice, how fast they are. I had noticed Eric Robinson, his physical ability, that he's a big body, he's a big guy.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah,
that's something that the Canes were always looking to add. But to see the speed and the extra gear that he can get to, you saw it on Brent Burns' 900th career point. Brent Burns throws that pass from behind the net, but it's because Robinson is streaking down the wing.
Oh yeah,
to make that play happen. So that's the thing. That honestly, Zach, is the number one thing that stood out to me. And yeah, he is one of those. When we talk about checking boxes for Rod Brind'Amour players, Eric Robinson checks off a lot of them.
No, 100%. And even I think Seth Jarvy said it too at his press conference when he got his contract. They asked him like who was kind of impressed him, and he said it was Jack Rossovic's speed and Eric Robinson. I know me and you have had a lot of conversations about Jack Rossovic, even back towards the
Natchez said it too, which is a high compliment for as fast as Natchez is to say, Robinson, I love playing with his speed. Jeez.
yeah. And I've been harping on all season, but because I know we talked about before the national that preseason game, we were talking about Jack Rossovic. But another guy I want to mention too, I want to get your thoughts on is Juha Jaska. Yes, he only has 3 assists. I know he's still fighting for that goal, but outside of that fight last, I mean, he's been. And I asked Rod about it, and he's like, every game he's been impressive. He's done the things that they want him to do. What about Juha Jaska that makes him so underrated that people should be talking about this guy more for how he's fit into this system in his first year with the Hurricanes?
No, he's just a pro. I mean, he's 26. He's going to be 27 soon. And he's played over in Finland, and this is his first time here playing in the NHL. And you take a look at what he did with the Wolves, but this is a guy who he knows his role. And look, everybody wants to score 50 goals and have 150 points in the NHL. But the guys who have long careers are the guys who figure out this is what I do, and I'm just going to play to those strengths. You lean into those strengths. Don't be something you're not. And Juha Jaska is a really solid forward. He is a 3-zone player. He's got offense to him. That pass to Jarvis for the shorthanded goal.
That was so nice.
Yeah, that was not a fluke. It's not a fluke. That's that sauce that makes grandma happy.
Right, exactly. Like even the Nonas would love something like that for sure.
And that's a pass that Shane Willis would love to be on the receiving end of. Juha Jaska setting up Seth Jarvis the other day. See, I told you it was either Anderson Cooper or Shane Willis joining us here. What? So
welcome, Shane.
So, hey, it's just been one of those Sundays, guys, just running around.
So
I always live by the fact of when I get a text, I'm like, what is they talking about? No calendar invites. You guys got to send calendar invites. I have concussion issues and forget when I say yes to people in a hallway.
We'll be right back with Mike and Shane. But first, we got to cut to some ads. We are an official NHL Shop affiliate of Fanatics Experience. Get in on the action. Foreign Nations jersey and merch. That just dropped. So make sure you get in. Get on those Foreign Nation items. Coming soon. Some Stadium Series items. Get those. If you're interested in Columbus or Detroit, just a fan of Stadium Series merch, that will be coming soon. And as well, all your Canes gear, all your Canes merch, right there on the NHL Shop. Make sure y'all go visit our links. It'll be posted up in our link trees. The direct link itself is nhlshop.75j.net/JEZ6B6. If y'all want to go check that out, make sure y'all use our link. We are an official affiliate of the NHL Shop. Have you played Pick 6 from DraftKings? What are you waiting for? You better get on it. It's Super Bowl 59, the last time to play NFL Pick 6 this season. As the official daily fantasy sports partner of the NFL, DraftKings does fantasy sports like no one else. Play for better payouts on Pick 6. It's super easy to get started. Select 2 or more players. Choose if they'll have more or less of a stat like touchdowns, yardage, sacks, and more. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. And DraftKings is making it even sweeter for first-time users. New Pick 6 customers play $5 to get $59 in Pick 6 credits. Win more cash on Pick 6. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to play $5 and get $59 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Super Bowl 59 is right around the corner. You can get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. Scoring touchdowns is key to hosting the Vince Lombardi Trophy, and you have a shot to score big by betting on them at DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new users to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
SeatGeek is back as one of our official sponsors, and we're so excited to have them because honestly, who doesn't like cheaper tickets? SeatGeek is a ticket app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. They put a 0 to 10 score on each ticket to know if you're getting a good or a bad deal. Honestly, they do that score. They also do red is bad, green is good. And they show you, I'm pretty sure they show you the view from the seats as well. So it's a really nice way to really see, hey, am I really getting the most for my buck through this app? All our viewers get $20 off. Of course, you know, we got to hook you up with that Sebastian Aho deal, but $20 off their first ticket purchase with our code SurgeCast, all one word. We will have links in our descriptions. But yeah, you go to SeatGeek. Guys, it's the new year. That means there's concerts coming up. That means there's more games that maybe you want to get some cheaper tickets to, you know, treat some people. Maybe that was your Christmas gift. But seriously, download the app, go get your SeatGeek tickets, use our code SurgeCast and get that Sebastian Aho deal of $20 off. Go check it out and let us know what shows you're going to see.
Of course, got to talk about an OG sponsor, and that is Primo X Hockey. They've been with us since even before episode 1, and they've always got some great deals for you guys. You're looking for pucks, sticks, helmets, skates, everything you can desire, they have it. They also got flags, they got koozies. I mean, they're also local too, which is really great. They're right there on 1411 Diggs Drive, Suite E. I mean, you know, also season ticket members for the Carolina Hurricanes. You're also helping support fellow Caniacs as well. You know, great group of guys. They're open Monday through Saturday. Super easy to check out. Just go to primoxhockey.com to check out their hours, check out their amazing store. And if you use the code the SurgeCast at checkout, you get 20% off your order, which is, you know, another Sebastian Aho discount. And the good thing too is free internet. They have free shipping, which is always awesome to have as well. And of course, if you're not able, you know, if you're able to go to the actual shop, well, let them know that the SurgeCast sent you. Maybe they might hook you up with something. Who knows? But always great to have them around. Great group to have as a sponsor, and we cannot thank Primo X Hockey enough for being with us since day one. Once again, primoxhockey.com. Use the code SurgeCast at checkout for your Sebastian Aho 20% off discount.
Okay. We'll do the calendar invites going forward.
Oh, seriously, going so that means, Kat, I am sending the calendar invite now to Shane Willis.
No, the unpaid intern will.
Okay.
I would appreciate two. 1 30 minutes before it starts, and then 1 right when it starts.
Well, hang on, Zach. Let me pass the question over to Shane. Okay. I was asked about Juha Jaska and what stands out to him about being an NHL player. As a guy who's been in the league, you know what an NHL player looks like. What does Jaska do that maybe not even stand out to you? But for me, it's like he knows his role, and he doesn't try to do more than what his role is. He's not trying to be Connor McDavid. He knows what his role is supposed to be.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big factor. I think his age is also a factor. I talked about this with Hannah Yates. It's not like we're dealing with a 22-year-old young kid coming into the league. He's played professionally in Europe for a number of years. And I think the other factor for me is that he understands that he cannot afford to make mistakes. So he is very in tune with the defensive side of the game. He doesn't try and cheat the game thinking I have to score 2 goals tonight or I'm going to get sent back to Chicago. His job is to play very, very tight, create plays if they're there, but making sure that he plays the system correctly every night for Rod Brind'Amour.
Yeah, and I asked Mike about this too, and I want to get your thoughts on like Eric Robinson, because of the fact that like he's tied his career high in goals, but it's just more than that. Like his speed's been really high. Like he fits well with this system, and I feel like Robinson could be one of those guys that we could see a lot longer than this season. And Mike even mentioned how he just checks off a lot of those boxes for Rod Brind'Amour. Like, what are your thoughts on just watching Robinson this year and just seeing the growth from like learning the system to where we're at now, where it's like he's just one of those unsung hero guys on this roster?
He fits into the category of where he has all the skill and talent in the world, and now he's finally getting an opportunity, and not just an opportunity to be in the lineup. Don't forget he was playing with the hottest player on the team at the start of the season in Marty Nature.
Yeah.
So there was a time where I laughed and joked with Mike saying, put me on the ice, I could probably score one if I was in Marty Nature's right now. So Eric Robinson has benefited from that, but I give him a ton of credit because of his speed, his skill. He plays a physical game. He's always around the scrums. I thought last night when Mike and I were on the call, and that's why I said it, he was creating things because of he was being physical on the forecheck, and he reads the play very well to generate speed, and he's got a great shot. I mean, he's got a great release. He can score goals. He has a nose for the net. And when you have opportunity like this and a coach that believes in you, you should get over your career high, because I don't think he's really gotten that in his NHL career yet.
Yeah, and he's so versatile. Like he's going, from line, he switches up the line because he kind of complements any player he's with, but he's also going to give you, like, both those players, Juha and Eric, are going to give you like that kind of 100% effort every night. I definitely, watching him against the Kings, I was like, I don't think Robinson's sick. If he is, I don't know what's happening. He's flying. Like, and I had said earlier when I saw the lines, I know, Mike, you talked about, questioning the lines or whatever. When I saw the lines, I was like, I have a feeling if Robinson is on his top game, he's not going to stay down on the fourth line, because he does, when he escalates his game and really pushes, that's when he gets put up there, because he just complements so well and he deserves more and more ice time. So I don't think it was hard to tell who was sick and who wasn't.
Yeah, just to say the least.
Although, Shane, I was hoping you would totally diffuse my plea to all of the fans of, once a line is formed, they have to stay there forever, and coaches never move them. And people on the internet know better than coaches that this guy should not be on the fourth line. He should be playing 23 minutes a night. And that's my sarcasm for the podcast this afternoon as well.
The hard part for Eric Robinson is, and Mike, you and I talk about this with trades and all those situations. Okay, well, who do you move down?
Yeah,
your top six. You're going to move somebody down off those lines. So I think you have to have depth. Your fourth line has to create chances and score big goals in certain moments. And if someone does go down or someone's having a bad game, Rod easily just turns to Eric Robinson and says, "You're going with this line." Yep. It's kind of the best of both worlds for Rod Brind'Amour.
Well, the other thing too, the strength of the Canes is when they're rolling four lines. They don't want to have the Aho line play 22 minutes. Ideally, their fourth line's playing 16 minutes and their top line's playing 19 minutes. And I know that people will tell you, well, what's the difference between 2-3 minutes? Shane can tell you what the difference between 2-3 minutes in a game is for playing time. So that's a big deal. But when the Canes are at their best, they have four lines that are just getting after it on the forecheck, creating problems for the opposition.
Well, right, exactly. That's what we were talking about earlier with the fact that it's like, everyone wants Seth Jarvis on the first line, but if you have him on the third with the Jordans, now, like I said, now you have a guy who can finish and he throws hits too. He compliments the Jordans and the Jordans compliment him. So, it's a balancing act that, like I said earlier, Rod's won a Jack Adams for a reason. Like, that's why he has his third contract extension and 6 playoffs and all that stuff. Like, Rod knows what he's doing, guys. Like, it's going to be fine. But I want to ask you both, that top line with Randon, Aho, and Blake, I think it was from National Stat Trick, they outchanced the Kings 25-4. You could tell those guys were pushing so hard. And just whatever reason, like Kemper playing out of his mind or block shots or just what have you. But like that line last night, like I want to get your guys' thoughts on just how that line pushed all night. You knew they wanted one so bad.
They were very close, and I thought they were pushing, and I can say that line was reeling. I know Rantanen was fine. Blake was mediocre when we're talking about health, and Aho was just trying to find it. And to create as many chances as they did with the way they were feeling, I think that shows how good they can be. And they need one game to really break out. And I think then they're off and running. They haven't had that yet. Now they're dealing with illness. A game where this line puts up 2, 3, maybe 4 goals in one game.
Oh, yeah.
Easy to see. And once it happens, we're off to the races and everything gets running, just like Rantanen scoring his first goal as a Cane. That breaks things open. Now he's getting more confidence. The line as a whole just needs one big game in my mind.
Yeah, it goes back to what I said earlier too, in particular with Jackson Blake. The points are going to start coming in buckets for him playing with those two. To repeat myself, and I'll gladly do that. And Shane's right; they're going to have that outing where they have it. But as much as you want the microwave and hey, here we go, and it's a gourmet meal, it takes a little while to get everything down for all of these players. But when it goes, they're going to be a force, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you talking about those few minutes, like the difference of the ice time. I know a lot of people, because we're going to move to the main topic that we really want to hear your guys' thoughts on. That's the big trade, of course. With Rantanen come over, like when he's transitioning into this team, I know a lot of people, especially the people that have watched the Avs or Avs fans, are like, "Why is Rantanen not getting?" He's used to like 22 plus minutes on the ice. Like, and I watched some Avs games, and I was like, this line combo's out here forever. Like they're dog tired, but they're still out there. But that's the difference in that. And the Canes is Rod's going to be like, well, if I can get all my lines buzzing, why am I going to keep these guys out here when they're tired and get others in there and keep creating these chances? So I totally agree with that. You want all lines to be buzzing. You don't want to overstack a line. But also, I mean, we got to talk about Rantanen and Hall. What are your guys' thoughts? I mean, that was on the trade during road games. How chaotic was it? What are your guys' thoughts on it? Whoever wants to start.
Shane, you can tell the story where we were when we found out about the trade and then the instant reaction. So
Mike and I were on a great restaurant in Garden City with a couple of great fans who contributed to our Western North Carolina relief, and we were having our fellowship and just hanging out when all of a sudden the phones went a little wacky. And I looked at Mike. I wasn't going to look at my phone. I'm like, why does my phone keep buzzing right now? And his was buzzing too. And we finally looked, and I was like, wow.
That calendar invite. Just
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All hell is broken loose in North Carolina. But immediately you have the instant reaction of you're excited, right? Mm-hmm. To pick up a player like Mikko Rantanen is arguably one of the best you could do in the National Hockey League if he was truly available, because the other 4 guys that were in the top 5 in scoring aren't available. And you get this guy, and then I still like the piece of Taylor Hall, because I said this on our podcast the other day with Mike. Taylor Hall is searching. He was picked first overall in the National Hockey League for a reason. And sometimes what do you need? A Jack Adams coach behind the bench who truly believes in you, can push you back to that level. I think Rod is the perfect coach for any player to get their game back on track if he buys in and if he listens. There's a buy-in factor you have to have from Taylor Hall. You're immediately going to have it from Rantanen because he's at the top of his game. But both of these players can have huge impacts. I think Rantanen is the easy one to look at, and people are saying he's going to light it up. I think Taylor Hall is the sneaky pickup in the trade that becomes part of some huge goals and huge moments in this team's run to the finish line.
The way that I looked at it, and it was looking at our phones. We're at dinner. The people across from us are like, "What are you?" Well, if they're looking at this and they're talking back and forth, we're like, "Well, we think the Canes just made a trade." And then it's the great thing about the internet. We know which sources, when you see them pop up on whatever Twitter is now called or all that stuff. And you're like, well, no, this guy has it, so it's got to be the real deal. You get naturally excited from it. Mikko Rantanen, for me, where I'm truly looking at his impact, it's going to be in the playoffs, because the Canes have not had a player like this in the playoffs. And you take a look at what he has performed in the past with Colorado, what he does the way he plays the game. And again, it's only been 4 games we've seen him in a Canes uniform. The plays he makes down low, tight spaces with his hands to make himself available for goals or passes that he's been able to make. You're like, that's special. That's why he is the player that he is. To back up Shane's point, Taylor Hall is one of these guys you look at. This is a former Hart Trophy winner. This is a guy who was an MVP of the league. And he's been moved around a little bit. And sometimes it's no fault of his own. Just, you get a contract and it's easier to move it here. He's played for a couple of organizations where, going into a game, you're not going to win. It's not fun to go to the rink and do that. And then he's played for an organization like in Boston where the expectations were through the roof and you're supposed to win. And now you have a guy like that who he's never won a Stanley Cup, but he's got that taste. That's what he needs. Like for his career to be a first overall, to get his name etched on the cup, he's going to be a factor in the postseason where you talk about putting guys on the roster, to Shane's point of when you make a trade, that's great, but you're going to move guys down the lineup. Well, if Taylor Hall plays to his ability, you have to play him up in the lineup and give him that chance. And I think that the way that Rod Brind'Amour coaches, he is going to get the best out of Taylor Hall because he knows this is a big chance for him. I think I'm not worried about Mikko Rantanen and his production. It's going to be there. It's been there forever. And to Shane's point, once they just get one big game, that line of Aho, Rantanen, and Blake, they're off to the races. But Taylor Hall is going to be the guy who, the pass he makes to Andrei Svechnikov at Madison Square Garden to get the first goal of the game, those are highly skilled plays that top guys in the league make. And now you have this guy on a second line to complement. And, oh, by the way, if we haven't noticed, that started to pull up Jesperi Kotkaniemi's game. Where that helps him having a guy like that. So and Shane and I have talked about it. You need to see more out of him, and you're starting to do it. So this is a trade. The other side of it, folks, if you're going to get, you got to give. And you know what? Marty Necas might be a 100-point player in the National Hockey League one day. Might get 40, might get 50. Seriously, because of the skill that he has. And I think that Jack Drury, and I've said this on the podcast a ton of times that Shane and I have, CanesCast, by the way. But it's Jack Drury's going to wear a letter. He's going to be a captain of the team or have, he's going to be an alternate some point in his career because of what he is in the locker room, the kind of person he is, the work ethic that he has. And, oh, by the way, he's a really damn good two-way player. How he can kill penalties and win faceoffs. But, that's the other side of it. You got to give up something really good to get something really good. But Canes fans everywhere should be thrilled about this trade because this is bold moves that you have to make. If you think that you can win it all, we got to go out and get somebody. If you're saying, well, how do you get there? This is a different way of doing it. You went out and they got last year Jake Gensel. They took the run there. And now I don't know if you can take a bigger home run swing than what you've done this year with who's available, as Shane pointed out, than Mikko Rantanen.
No, 100%. And I think, too, it's that background for what Shane said. Like, you give Hall, a guy like Rod Brind'Amour behind the bench, and Hall even said it, I think it was What Chaos, how he's tired of moving around. He wants to find a place, and he even said, I hope it's Carolina, because he loves the locker room. He loves what the trajectory of the team is. So, I mean, from how he's been playing in just a few games and just has first game at home, I mean, that'd be if we can keep him for whatever contract that works, even with the cap going up, not a bad addition to have long term.
Yeah, and Rod's known to he gets some of those vet players from around the league and he pulls them in and he really does get every bit from them that to the point where you're like, wow, they're playing just like they did years before. They're really hitting their potential because of, Rod pulls that out of them. So I fully agree.
Shane, I think Shane wanted to say something. I thought you were gonna.
Oh.
To
me, it's a true. Mike mentioned the additions. It's a true hockey trade, and you've upgraded. And when you look at Rantanen and Marty Necas, do I think Marty Necas can get 100 points? Yes, but the difference where you have to look at it as of right now, Marty Necas has not done that in the playoffs. Mikko Rantanen has. So you have a bona fide playoff performer in your lineup now. I agree that Taylor Hall can get more of Kotkaniemi and hopefully Svechnikov as it goes along when you talk about chemistry. And losing Jack Drury is very, very difficult. And the one area when you look at it and what have the Hurricanes lost is not only a great centerman, but a right-handed centerman. But that also points me to the fact that I don't think they're done. because Mike and I have
yeah.
looked around, and you can go out and find. You're not looking for a second line centerman. You're looking for a fourth line guy that maybe kills penalties. It's right-handed that can play heavy in the playoffs against the Florida, against the Caps. That type of player. There are a few of them out there that Mike and I have talked about over the past few days, and I think that's something that Eric Tulsky and his staff, along with Rod's input, will be looking at as the March deadline approaches.
Yeah, I every time they interview Tulsky and he goes, he hasn't done. I know all Canes fans are like, oh no, like no one was expecting Brandon, so now everyone's like, all right, who are we looking at? Who could be possible? Especially with the cap going up, like everything seems to be possibility for the Canes at the moment. So I think everyone's just really excited, a little nervous, like you said. There's the emotional side of who are you going to give up, but I can talk more about this. I know Mike has to go soon, so I do have one last question for you, Mike. What are your thoughts on the Canes season so far? We're at the middle of it. Do you have any surprise performers? Is this what you were predicting from the beginning of the season? What are your thoughts? And then also get Shane's as well. But I know you are on a time crunch, Mike.
Yeah, I'm on a time crunch, as Shane well knows. It's called my better half. But she's watching hockey downstairs right now, so I think I have a reprieve. So that's how we've stayed married forever. She knows that she can watch whatever she wants. So and it makes me better because then she'll inform me on every game that she's watching. So to this point, the Canes are doing almost exactly what I thought they were going to do. You go back to anything in the preseason, to lose the players that they lost off of the roster. We're talking core players. And people were kind of, when I'd say, look, they're going to be in the top three. And at the time I said it would be New Jersey, the Rangers, and Carolina. Mix them up in a bag, and however they pour out, but that's your top three. I don't think any of us saw Washington doing what they're doing right now. And Spencer Carberry, we're talking about coaches of the year. I think that he's going to be the coach of the year. But with the Canes, honestly, the surprise is that all of the players who they brought in fit as seamlessly as they did. There really wasn't, there's this learning curve here, or this guy is just not getting it, or it's taking too long for this guy to figure it out. William Carrier is the player who checks every box for Rod Brind'Amour. Eric Tulsky said it. We've said it. If you let Rod Brind'Amour create his perfect player, it's Will Carrier with what he does. It's unfortunate that he's injured right now, because he'd bring something in the playoffs, that heaviness with how he plays, and hopefully he can get back in time. We're not 100% sure on where that injury is going to go and progress, but you tell me, if you would have told me Jack Roslovic got 18 goals all year, I'm like, well, there's a steal signing in the offseason. Then what Eric Robinson has done, that's been fantastic. Shane Gostisbehere had that injury, and I think that sidetracked his season a little bit, because he was humming along, running that power play. And, now he's trying to get back into it, and he's a new dad. Life happens too. I think people forget about that. And Sean Walker, I think, is playing his best hockey the last 3-4 weeks. For the Canes. So
he really stepped up. Yeah.
I hate to say, and Shane, we talked about this, and Shane was on Sean Walker last year as a player for Carolina to pick up at the trade deadline. He was talking about it, just like he knows the lottery numbers, and he picked that Eric Robinson was going to score that goal last night right when he did. So I'll defer to Shane on these things, but the bigger picture was the surprise is how it all fit, considering what you lost and what was lost from there. But no, this is, I hate to say this, it sounds like I'm like a know-it-all, and I am the furthest thing from it, but this is what I expected the Canes to be. Maybe they would win the division. I'd put them up for the team that would have a chance, but I had them no worse than third. And their focus is, and it's going to be on the playoffs. Look, folks, and Shane and I know this because we get it a ton. And if the Canes win the President's Trophy, you two would be sitting there going, oh, why'd they do that? Why do they want the best record? Statistically, nobody wins when you do that.
I just want home ice advantage. That's all I want. I just want home
Honestly,
ice advantage.
I mean, I think the Canes haven't done it, so that'd be great to see the first time they've pulled that off. So why not?
I don't want it. I just want home ice advantage. I don't want the curse of that. I just want the home ice advantage so Caniacs can just help them as much as we can.
All right, so one of you's thinking rationally, Zach, who thought I would ever say that, and then there's Kat.
I'm kind of surprised. Thanks, Mike.
I'm rational. I'm wanting the loudest house to do its job as much as possible in playoffs.
So if that means winning the President's Trophy, yes, or do you want to roll with that curse? I just want to
be high in this. Like, I want to be away from the wild card is what I want. I'm fine with third or second. I'm fine with that. I just want a home ice advantage as long as possible.
Shane, I'm done. You got to pick me up on this one. I can't speak to that one.
Halfway through I'm sitting here agreeing with Mike because we were telling everybody at the start of the season that was in panic mode of like, oh, they didn't do anything. We don't have enough. We're gonna stink. Canes are gonna miss the playoffs. I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah,
that was silly.
And now they pull off this trade, and all of a sudden we catapult back to, oh, you're the Stanley Cup favorites now again because you got this going on. And even when things in Hurricanes world weren't great in December, they weren't that far off. They would lose one, win one. They didn't go on a Buffalo 13-game skid.
They canceled each other out, really. They won some, lost some, equals.
Right. They were never to the point of where you could say they're broken and something's really wrong. And the team is always so close. They continue to push together. And the other teams around the league that struggle are having issues. Washington has really stayed, in my mind, as well as they played, they've stayed out of the limelight. No one's even really talking about them on the big stage. They just keep winning. And I'm like, is anyone going to talk about this team just stealing points nonstop? They come back from 2 goals down against the Jets last night to steal a point again.
Yeah.
Continue to just hang around. But I see the Canes making it close, maybe even catch them and passing them by the end. But I really am confident in second place if they don't catch the Caps. The Devils, I believe, they were down 3-0 before I jumped on this call to Buffalo. As Buffalo starts to turn things around, and the Rangers, in classic fashion yesterday, I said to somebody, I said, well, the Rangers made a trade. Watch Vegas win on this one because everyone's going to load up on the Rangers today. They're going to smoke the Bruins. And what happens, everybody?
Vegas won. We're not talking about the Golden Knights.
Every Boston fan has said, how do you like them apples?
By the way, I need to bring this up to Shane, and I should save it for our podcast, but I don't know if we're going to do one this week with the travel and whatnot, Wilbur. Do you think the best thing for the Caps is the only focus in Washington is Ovi and the chase for Gretzky, and nobody's paying attention to, oh God, they're in first place in the Metro Division? I think that the chase is actually a good thing for them as opposed to a negative.
It really is. They have one of the hottest goaltenders in the league. And the team is just dominating. And every time they pop on, let's see that Alex Ovechkin watch. Don't worry about the rest of the team. Just kind of with their feet up, just crushing teams. I think it is a factor. Now, does it become a bigger factor at the end? Does Ovi get it? Is it better to, position that? It almost gets down to the football stage of, are they doing things right? Or are they forcing the Ovi thing too much? But they're a good team, and they're definitely the surprise to me in the Metro. Did I think they were good? Yes, but they've kind of hit on all cylinders with what they picked up because everyone was worried about Dubois. A guy who's been moved around, and all of a sudden this guy's truly found his game in Washington. Logan Thompson in net has been, hot would be an understatement. So they're rolling along, but the Canes have their number. I'm not really worried about the Caps. And these are the two teams in the Metro that seem to be as steady as any of them right now.
Right.
I feel like if the Canes played their complete game like they did against the Rangers previously, I think them playing that against the Caps, I think you'd have a really good competition with those two teams. I think last time we played the Caps
it was
played
close,
better,
though.
but the Caps played better Canes hockey than we did, and we played them when Ovi was out. That was the last game against them. So I'm really interested in a matchup against them. I do think they're kind of there's so much focus on Ovi that they didn't even put the rest of the team just well, we're winning too, but that's fine. Focus on him. Don't focus on us. I know Canes fans are always as soon as the media puts attention on us, we're please don't, just let us go and do our thing. As soon as you focus on us, something happens.
It's probably easier to win games though, if you face the Caps without the airplane puke bags on the bench and
True.
Yeah.
extra packs of Depends in the room for anybody who's gonna stick up that
Yeah.
night.
Well, I mean, yeah, you paint a beautiful picture. You paint a beautiful picture, Shane.
Just so poetic. It was just he's waxing poetic for us.
It's like watching Rembrandt.
I talked to Trip Tracy to do. He's alive. I talked to him today.
Okay, so. Good to know.
Yeah.
He's turning
texted with Trip, and yes, he is good to go. The fever broke from what we know. So
as of yesterday, he said you could have fried an egg on my forehead.
That's not fun. It's not fun. We've all been. By the way, Kat, if I could, Kat, I'm going to go one step further. If the Canes play that game that they played against the Rangers, they'll beat anybody in the NHL. It's not just, hey, that'd be a great series. That when the Canes play like that, that's what makes them the team that everybody talks about and thinks can win the Stanley Cup. So we'll see if they can continue that. But it's a hard league too. That's the other thing that folks need to
everything
remember.
has to go right in playoffs too. Like the Caps can be doing all of this, and then in playoffs, if for some reason their goaltender isn't as hot as he was, or their power play runs out, like you're all of a sudden you're like, where's?
Well, think of the Florida Panthers when they won the President's Trophy, however many seasons ago that was. Everyone thought they were going to steamroll, and they got knocked out pretty quick because they were built for a regular season run, not a playoff run. So yeah, that's why the playoffs are a whole. Well, yeah, it's like, are you built for? You can do so much in the regular season, Toronto Maple Leafs, but can you do in the playoffs?
Well, that's what's nice with the trade too.
Nobody's talking about Florida. Florida's like on cruise control. They win a few. Get smoked by a couple. It's almost like they're just like, yeah, it's fine. We'll get another one tomorrow because we know what we're waiting for. And all of a sudden, just crank the knob when the playoffs start.
Yeah, and
gets
again, that's
around 7 seconds in, and then is absolutely smoked the Blackhawks on top of that.
But it's again, there's certain teams where because now that Florida has done it, there's not the sense of urgency of they need to win every game in the regular season. That it's they're playing for. Go back 2 years ago, when the Bruins have this incredible run in the regular season, and nobody's going to stop that juggernaut. And all of a sudden, here comes, the funny thing about that postseason to me, when Florida gets to the final for the first time and loses to Vegas, is they beat the unbeatable Boston Bruins. Then they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the only series that anybody ever talked about was how could this team lose that series was when the Canes got swept by Sergei Bobrovsky and the Panthers, where almost every game went to overtime, double overtime, and it was a 1-goal game. And that was the ridiculous one. I'm like, hey, wasn't Boston supposed to be this great team? And they got beat by a goalie, and then they move on. So, but it goes back to the point of, look, the playoffs become a whole different animal. Does a goalie get hot? Does your power play all of a sudden start to click, or does on the other side of it, what falls apart that worked for you in the regular season? So we'll see. And as much as we love talking about this Canes team in the regular season, I'm still going to stand by it. They're going to be determined, fair or not, by what they do in the playoffs. Which, by the way, they're the only team in the NHL that has won a playoff series 6 consecutive years in a row.
Yep.
Yeah. And despite them not, like people saying, not getting all the way to the Stanley Cup, like that playoff experience, that teaches you things every time. Like it teaches you, it taught like you said, it taught the Panthers on what to do. It teaches I think that's why Tampa Bay won back to back. Like once you know the strategy of the playoffs, that's why the regular season, it's like, yeah, we're going to do well, but that's not our main focus at the moment.
Well, think about this too. Think about this too. You have a few guys on this roster who've been to 2 Eastern Conference final appearances. Like some of these guys know what it's like to get to that far to, be so close to a cup final. So yeah, it's like I said, it's just finding the right time and the thing that works. Because like going back to Florida, I mean, you had Alex Lyon squeak you into the playoffs because Pittsburgh couldn't beat Columbus and Chicago to get in themselves. If they win, Florida's not in, off the back of a guy going for 7 straight wins, to get them there. So, and then Bobrovsky just decided, oh yeah, I'm going to remember how to be a goalie. So yeah,
all that money.
Find the right time. Huh?
He's going to be worth all that money. He's really playing up to his.
Yeah. It only took you like half a decade, but sure.
A quick question on kind of a funnier note. Is there anything else you guys would like to say to all the CanesCast listening? And also, because we are also curious, there's been a lot of Nate just going over the Avs. There's been a lot of like, how do you say his name actually?
I would have
and I
loved
know
this.
we've talked about this with you, Mike, about you learning how to say players' name. I mean, it's the Lawrence all over again, I feel like.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts? Did we ever ask him how to say his name, or did he just rebrand? What's up with the Nature's last name?
It's whatever, Zach. I mean, it's what these guys do. They come over like Jesperi Kotkaniemi told me and Trip. It's Kotkaniemi. Yet if you listen on the Canes pronunciation guide, he says Kotkaniemi. And I asked him, why did you say that? And he goes, well, that's what they called me when I came over here. So again, it's what the players want to go with. And Marty told Mark Mosier, who's the outstanding play-by-play guy for the Avs, one of the best guys out there. Marty told him Netchus. And look, remember Andre Sekera became Sekra, then Sekra, then back to Sekera. Like the guys change their name all the time. And you have to remember when they come over, especially Europeans, when they come over, they're not going to step on anybody's toes. They're not going to say whatever. They get to the point. Remember Sebastian Aho came over and said the next year it was actually Aho, and everybody lost their mind. You guys forget that one? And then it goes back to, just fine. Aho is fine. The thing with Marty, it's whatever the players want to be called. That's what they can be called. And when you go to a new team, you get a chance to do whatever you want. And so I wish fans wouldn't freak out about it. Don't get on Mark for saying that, because he said, I went to Marty. This is what he said. And, he saw us in the locker room all the time. I do know there was one time where I went, Natchez, right? And he nodded his head. And, maybe it's because, I'm an old man and he was a young kid at the time. But it's something where the guy before me called him Natchez. Nobody called anybody out on this one. Tripp called him Natchez. Tripp hung out with him. Shane,
you got passion advice from the guy.
You got passion advice.
Yeah, I mean, Shane, you're in the locker room with him, and then again, it changes all the time. There's got, especially when we talk about players coming over from Europe, their names they'll actually go, actually, it's like this. Yeah. And they don't want to step on toes. And I get people, I just want to get the names right. Stevie Lawrence is the one who Steven, as he said, quote to me, my family are farm folk. They're simple. I'm like, Steve, it's your name. And then as I found out, he went through school and was called Lawrence all through school. So
Steve was definitely a guy that was never going to offend somebody by making them change.
Oh, no, Mr. Sunshine? Nah.
He was call me whatever you want. Don't call me late for dinner type.
Yeah. But again, so like this becomes a controversy. This has happened forever in this league with European players. So and it's happened with the Canes. Then there was Andreas Nodal, and then there was evidently no human way to say his name properly, as I recall that one. Russian players come across and the accent is on the middle syllable, and that's where you've gotten Samsonov and Samsonov and all of the things that go through. But ultimately, it's what the players want to be called. And if Marty moving on to Colorado, if he wants to be Netchus now, then he's Netchus.
Yeah, I think all Canes fans were just having like a little, because we've listened. No, I don't think it's that serious. I think it's just Canes fans were like, we've listened to other broadcasts when they try to say Svechnikov. It's a little bit of a tongue twister for them. So then we got over there and we're like, that's not how you say Natchez. And then they're like, well, wait, we asked him. And it's like, oh, and then you're like, have we been saying it wrong? And it's a little bit of identity crisis of like, I've been saying this player's name wrong for so long, but did he ever say anything?
Never. Not once. So did he ever say anything to you, Shane? You were in the room.
No. Well,
Shane, is your last name actually Willis? Did we mispronounce Shane?
Well, I mean, I would argue the fact that we're going to stay on the humor train that, I mean, this is really the first year we've ever said his name this much. So we're starting to try to figure it out.
That's true.
Yeah, there you go. And look, with my last name, I've heard it all and I've seen it spelled every way. So, and actually, my wife went over to Switzerland, and she was on the border of Italy with Switzerland. Shane, you know this one as well. You played over in Switzerland. The real way to say my name is not how I say it. I've anglicized it. That's what my family's like. It's a softer A, believe it or not.
We just Americanized the European name.
So
That's
all
what
right,
I do.
all right. So for people at home who want to know, okay, so how do you pronounce it, and how is it pronounced over there? That way they kind of know what that difference is.
Well, I'm leaving that one alone because it's Maniscalco, and it has been for 49 years, so I'm not changing it. So.
Well,
Hey,
besides,
can't fault me for trying.
Now when I go work for a new team, maybe I'll go back to the old country way of saying it. So
well, hopefully that never happens, Mike, because we
Yeah.
want you to stay in Carolina. So
besides the name, as we're wrapping up with you guys, thank you so much. We've been really honored to have the whole Canes cast here with us for this episode. We were honestly excited counting down the days so we get to talk with both of you with this exciting season. Is there anything else you would like to let the Canes fans know? What to watch? Thoughts on any more thoughts looking forward? Where to find you guys?
Here, lay on the couch, relax.
Last word for you, Wilbur. I'm tapping out on that one.
You're tapping out. I'm excited. With 3 games to go, I think the guys are ready for a break. The schedule's been crazy. I'm excited for the Four Nations Cup. I think it's going to be exciting to see the competition and the level that these guys come at each other, because it's really an unknown. Someone was asking me the other day, but what about the All-Star game? Like, who wants to watch that anymore?
Sure.
A pond hockey game. So I think this will elevate things to a new level. I think every general manager around the league will have their breath held the entire time, because you have your best players on the ice. But it's going to be an exciting couple of weeks. And, for us, and everyone thinks that it's a 2-week break. We're going to have our Canes Gala and raise as much money as we can for the foundation and continue to crank out different things into our community. So it's going to be an exciting February.
There will be a Canes Corner during that time, and I have no idea who the player is. Probably I'll find out the day of. So that'll work. I have no idea. Shane, it's going to be me and you. Let's go.
I'll come over.
Send the calendar invite now.
Yes.
CanesCast Live. Ask your questions in person.
Oh, we've threatened that several times, so maybe one of these days. For me, I just hope everybody enjoys the hockey. I'm dead serious. Just enjoy it, because this has been another fun run with this team. So,
I mean, that's perfect way. Kat, I think that's a perfect way to end it right there.
That's a perfect way. Yes. Well, thank you guys so much. Of course, everyone that's listening, go listen to Canes Cast as well, and also follow them on X, Twitter.
Well,
Mike is always asking for the questions for their pod, so go and hound him, with starting lineups and all of those fun things.
Who's the starting goalie? We need goalies.
That's Mike.
Yeah. By the way, Shane, don't you ever get on social media. Keep saying it.
Nope.
Shane, you're doing it the right way.
But yeah, thank you both, Mike. We love both of you. We love listening to, especially for away games when we can't be there. We love listening to you guys on the broadcast. And also thank you so much, Shane, with all you do with the youth hockey and everything. I still think back to the alumni game where the little kid was literally like, "That's my coach," and pointed to you. So the fact that they were so excited just to see, I was like, that's awesome. That's hockey growing in Carolina. So thank you guys both so much. We look forward to hearing you guys on the Winnipeg game. Stay warm up there. Whatever fun things to do.
Sleep.
And sleep.
Go get some.
Don't get sick.
Shane, hang on. Shane has the best story about Winnipeg, though. What's worse than Winnipeg in the wintertime, Shane?
Winnipeg in the summertime.
Because
mosquitoes will pick you up and take you away. You gotta hold on to the child. Huge.
Huge.
One of the first times Shane and I were ever talking about it, he goes, "Bring a saddle in the summertime so you can ride a mosquito around town."
It's a tough spot. You go camping outside Winnipeg or in Saskatchewan, look alive. You come back with 2 less pints of blood.
Which is extra funny for people in Carolina, considering how humid and all the bugs that are here. That's wild.
Yeah. I don't mind bugs. Mosquitoes are the worst.
Well, ending on enjoy the hockey and ride the mosquitoes in Winnipeg. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
It's never a dull moment when we have Shane and Mike join us. So we're really happy that the CanesCast, both of them, were able to join us for this episode. Again, go follow, listen to all of their stuff because, again, they're the big Canes insiders. That's why we always want to bring them on and pick their brains for all their stories. But yes, go give them a follow. Listen, go check out Mike on Twitter. They ask questions. They want the Canes fans all the Caniacs to send in questions. You can also hit them up there. But yeah, a big thank you to them. And I don't know about you, Zach, but I don't have anything else to add to that episode after everything they just dropped with us.
No, just make sure to bring your saddles if you're going to Western Canada and Saskatchewan, because apparently the mosquitoes are huge. So if you want to protect yourself, bring your saddles, man. All I can tell you.
See you later, Caniacs.
See ya.